afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Radio Network. To become successful, one must put themselves in the path of a giant. Passionate World Radio Network. And this afternoon, special time, special pleasure, we're interviewing Joy Villa, who is a Grammy recipient, but more importantly, she is a lady who makes music for others. And she doesn't just make it, she creates it, and she infuses her soul with it. So, good afternoon, Joy. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing amazing. I'm blessed like you are.
Well, that's terrific. I listen to a lot of your music, so for people who do not know who you are, which is hard for me to believe, but people who are not familiar with you, let us introduce you in such a way that they do not think you're just one of those female singers.
Well, you want me to introduce myself?
I want you to explain to them the kind of music you write and perform, because it's not like the other stuff that is out there. It has a unique blend of multicultures, and it has a soul.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for that. I mean, my music is a little bit of pop, a little bit of rock, a little bit of world influence. And I grew up listening to old school rock and roll and jazz, and I just sort of put all my influences into my music. And my lyrics are always about empowering people through pain, sharing their story, and I share my story through my music. And I want to unify America. I want to unify the world, and really send a message that, you know, you can change the world and that you matter no matter what. As a spiritual being, we're far more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. So I infuse that into my music because I absolutely was raised that way, and I believe it's true.
And I also realize that you are full of color. You are full of richness and depth. And usually when you see a singer on stage, they do not really personify the innermost part of who they are, and like a peacock, display it to the world.
Thank you so much.
Well,
I love it,
for people to understand that this is riotous, R-I-O-T-O-U-S, color, and that color is just not blues and grays and reds, but it's the positioning of the color that not only frames who you are, but it frames the music. And that's what's so special about your music.
Thank you. Well, that's what I hope to, inspire others to live a passionate life and to be vibrant and to tell their story, because that's what it's all about, being a musician. I'm telling stories. I'm singing my stories. So that's really what it has to be about in my viewpoint,
Yes, and I think that it's not always easy to follow that particular road.
It's not.
Because every path that a person undertakes is full of pit holes.
It's very true.
And there's always something lingering in the background. Everybody knows what this is, folks. If you're Irish or you're Italian or you're Jewish, you always have 3,000 years worth of baggage that
it's
you're
so true.
plugging through with the past. And you're not doing that. And it's really very refreshing not to hear the type of laments or guilt, and parents are so good at that, put forward into what you're trying to convey to your audience.
And that's what I want to do. Is I don't want to, I don't need to say anything that I don't like to tear people down with my music, and I don't like to, put the false narrative of it's all about, shaking that booty in the club and getting drunk. And I feel like that's way too much the narrative in music, and there's way too much negativity in music. And young people listen to music. I know I grew up listening to music and being inspired by the lyrics and the beat. And the lyrics are ultimately one of the biggest things for me, because you can dance all day long and they could be saying, go murder your neighbor, and you would have no idea because you're dancing to the beat and it gets into your spirit. So if the lyrics are you are powerful and you like the beat, that's when I think the synergy of perfect music with perfect lyrics and inspiration and drives you to do more, that's when that happens. And that's why I write all my own songs. I do work with some co-writers, but I'm 90% of the only writer on the song, usually. My first album was completely written by myself. I make the Static, which rocked to number 1 on iTunes and Amazon, and number 1 on rock and alternative charts on Billboard, and number 12 on the top 200. So I, as an independent artist, I beat out all these other artists that have millions of dollars backing them, and they just won Grammys, and they just done this, that, and the other. And here comes little old me, and I just like to say my truth with my music and my fashion, and I think people really respond to that. So I've been elevated to even a higher atmosphere and a platform, and it's my responsibility to use this platform to help others feel good about themselves, not bad.
And that's a very interesting thing to say. Last night I was watching a documentary about one of the hip-hop artists who was gunned down and killed. And I didn't know who he was, and I'm sure everybody would be aghast at that thought, and he was apparently a very gifted musician. Problem was that some of the people he ran around with were also from his past.
Oh, wow.
And the past was associated with gangs. And the problem is that even though you want to be loyal to your past, you have to be very careful what you bring forward into the future on your journey, because loyalty does not always make good music.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to realize as an artist, you can't, like, a lot of us grew up in places that we no longer want to be a part of. A lot of artists grew up in ghettos and grew up in the most horrible atmospheres. But what you can't do is then try to, stay, like you said, the loyalty. You can't bring that ghetto culture or that destitute culture or wherever you grew up into your lifestyle now, because now you're adding more money, you're adding a huge spotlight, and the more that you're in the spotlight, the more your insecurities honestly will shine through. If you don't know who you are and what you want to do when you start, you're really not going to know once you're famous and the money starts rolling in. So I've always tried to stay level-headed about things. I have had to unfriend people and ignore people who I say, no, you're not following my path, and I love you, but I can no longer take you with where I'm going. And it has to be like that. They say it's lonely at the top. I mean, it can be lonely if you're not seeking out new friendships. I have a lot of friends who are like me, of the same mindset, and want to bring unity and life with their music and with their art, rather than just go for money or just tear down people. And you just have to alienate the people that are not in your same circle. And you don't have to do it in a rude way, but you have to go through a cleansing of your friends. I've had to do that, literally through my friend lists on social media and also in person. Like, I've just had to phase out certain relationships because they like to get drunk and party. I like to work out in the gym. Our lifestyles are different. And, anyone who tells me that they have the same friends that they did when they started in this industry, I doubt it. I don't believe them, because people change. I have had very few friendships I could take with me for the whole ride. And I think it's just, that's just how it is. And as long as you know that and you make peace with it and you realize you have to put your goals and your message above everything, and you have to stay true and not get caught up in feelings. A lot of people will date people and lose the plot. And I'm lucky that I'm married. I'm 31 years old. I'm happily married. I'm so glad dating is not in my life right now. That would be a big distraction, and I can just focus on God, my music, the friends I do have, the family I have, and the great fans I have who've been with me for a long time.
I think it's very difficult because our culture does not teach how to be respectful of not only of who you are as either an entertainer or as a banker or a lawyer or even a policeman, yes, even a policeman, and also respectful of the fact that in order to create your ultimate goal, whatever key to whatever lock will unlatch for you to enter that kingdom, that one must sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
And one must bear great responsibility.
Absolutely. You said it, Lillian. There's a lot of sacrifice. And that's what a lot of young people get in the industry. You know, I do a lot of mentorship. I do artist night talks where I get a group of young artists together and I tell them my story. I do a lot of speaking engagements. I share as much of this as I can. I have a YouTube series where I share all about like how to avoid negative people, how to get away from negativity. That's at youtube.com/MissJoyVilla. And one of the biggest surprises that a lot of people are faced with is, well, my boyfriend wants me to do this, or my girlfriend says I shouldn't do that, or my mom doesn't like this, or my best friend doesn't like this. And I say, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to make sacrifices. Of course, you don't want to cut off the people you love, but you're going to have to stop asking their permission to do the thing that you know you must do in your heart. And sometimes it is your mom telling you, I don't want you to do that, but you know in your heart you have to do that. And you have to respect your mom. I've always grown up respecting my parents, but you also have to listen to your own soul and your own heart. And you have to, exercise your right to express yourself. I mean, I've done a lot of things where people in my family said, no, I don't think you should do that, and I do it anyways. And it's successful because it's my path. So ultimately, it's you versus you, and you're left alone. You're the one making the decisions. You could have the best team around you. They're not going to do the things you need to do for you, and you don't want them to. You need to make your own decisions, so that means you need to cut the negative people out of your life. You need to get the drug addicts and the alcoholics and the lazy people who just want to, live off of your success. You need to cut them out. They can't be in the studio with you. They can't be on set with you because that's going to distract you. I've told so many people, like, you need to, when you go in the studio, you need to be alone. Maybe one person that will not get in your way. You need to work with your team and not have the hanger-outers bring in beer and weed and all this stuff. You need to focus, and that's the biggest sacrifice. A lot of people, they're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, they still want to party. And quite honestly, you can't party and build a career at the same time. Now, once you're famous, once you're there, then you can relax a little. But the ride up, the climb up takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of dedication, but it's 100% worth it if this is what you want and this is what you feel you must do. It's always worth it.
It's always, I told my son, he's gifted in art, and he's a world-class illustrator.
Oh, wonderful.
I said, there's only one king on the mountain at any one time.
That's right.
Doesn't just because you're gifted and bright or talented does not mean you'll stay king for long if you don't keep up your defenses.
That's right.
Keep reinventing yourself and making yourself better than what you originally became.
That's right. That's absolutely right. You have to keep reinventing yourself and making yourself better and growing and learning and partnering up with other people. I always like to be friends with someone who's doing something I want to do or who's ahead of me. Surround yourself with people who are better than you, and you'll rise up to their level. And that's the trick. You want to be surrounded by people who are doing what you want to do, who are better, who are 10 steps ahead of you, so you can learn from them. And many people will help you if you ask. So that's the trick too. You ask for help, you ask for, guidance, and you follow what people do, and you can learn a lot by just following the best in the game. I look at Oprah. People ask me where you want to be with your career. I say Oprah. She does TV. She does movies. The only thing she doesn't do is music. So I'll be the musical Oprah.
Well, I don't do music either. I used to said Larry King is my person to.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And I'm still working towards it. But you have to remember one thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that these people reached it through tenacity, perseverance, and their own personal volition of where they wanted to be. But their journey is their journey. You cannot copy it.
That's right. That's right.
Because you are not that person. So please do not think that you can listen to this conversation with Joy and say, well, if I do everything that Joy did, then like Joy, I will have equal success.
Right.
Because you're lying to yourself.
No, that's true. I mean, if you do everything I do but with your own take, you will have success. I can say that.
Exactly.
You still have to make your own decisions. It still has to be your own style. It has to be your authenticity. That's why when people try to copy someone else's style, they dye their hair to look like them, or put on their wiggle, or the way they talk, and it always can come off as fake. If it's naturally like that, and you look at people, and you, like, I used to watch a lot of 40s, 50s, 60s films, and I got a lot of inspiration from the screen stars and the starlets, but I wouldn't purposely try to copy them. But you do want to practice. Like, you want to have your icons, your people that you follow and you learn from. Then once you've learned their style, you go off and you do your own version of it. You do your own natural expression of it. Like music, you can mimic somebody. It's a good way to learn how to sing. Listen to Barbra Streisand or listen to Diana Ross. But at the end of the day, you have to find your own specific and unique style. And that only happens by just you keep doing it, and you learn from your mistakes, and you just keep on doing it. And we all make mistakes, embarrassments, say the wrong thing. The best way to last is you just own up. When you've made a mistake, say, whoops, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And then you just keep on going. And people want to forgive. And, people will forgive people who are humble. So you don't have to pretend. Sometimes you're going to fake it till you make it. You show up to the audition or whatever, and they say, oh, can you do this? You just say yes and just try it. And other times you can say, you know what, I messed up. I don't know how to do this. Can I try it again? So you're going to have to find your own rhythm between bravado and humbleness. And once you do, you'll be able to soar.
And that's what you need to do. So when you sit down now to write a song, I know that's about as difficult as sitting down and writing a book or something else, because I write books too. And I know that it takes me a little while finally to get settled down. But when I'm in your space,
yes,
when you're in your nuclei,
yes,
what are some of the things you do in order to really get that sound that you hear inside, but you need to bring it out?
I'm usually busy doing a lot of stuff. That's, I don't always, this is usually how my process is. I'm so busy, and I love being busy. I go to the gym. I volunteer with charity organizations like I did for Texas for the hurricane relief with mercury1.org. I do a bunch of things that, honestly, inspiration can hit me any one time, any one moment. So when it hits me, I listen and I go, oh, that's a song, or that's an element of something. That's something that is inspiring me right now. So I'll record it on my phone, and I'll just make sure to write down whatever inspiration I get at that moment. Then what I'll do is I'll have all these tidbits of songs, these poetry moments, these lyrics, these sounds, melodies, whatever it is. Usually it's like 10, 15 seconds. Sometimes it's 30 seconds. I'll hum into my phone. I'll sing. Then later when I sit down in my studio with my producer, I'll play them for him. And we have a great relationship, so I can play him these things that sometimes are quite embarrassing. I literally got out of the shower and I recorded something that I would probably never, let anyone else hear. But with him, I trust him, and he'll go, oh, I like that. There's an element in there. So he'll get onto the piano, and then he'll start putting the melody, some of the notes, adjusting some of the notes so they sound better, and we'll work on the melody. And while he's doing that, I'll start working on the lyrics, and that's how we create a song. So the inspiration can hit you at any moment. It doesn't mean you have to be sitting at your desk ready to write a song in production mode. So when that inspiration hits you, you could be out with your mom, you could be out with your kids, you could be out shopping with your girlfriends, you could be watching TV. Rarely does it hit when I watch TV, though. That's one thing. That's a creativity killer, I think.
Really? Now, I find that TV empties my mind. I wrote out a whole outline for my book.
Yeah,
my
TV doesn't really
said,
work.
You got all that just by watching Investigation ID? I said, yeah. What? And it's like a 6-page outline. But I think it depends for different people.
It depends. You could be doing anything. You could be washing your hands and get inspired. It's very personal. But when it hits you, the muse hits, you need to write it down.
Yes.
and then at a later date work on it. That's how I do it. At a later date when you're ready, that's when you can go, okay, now it's time to work on this. And that's how that's when the discipline comes in. When you're ready, you have all these elements already together, these little inspiration nuggets that you can create into a full-length song, or that's how I do it. Because if I try to sit down and just say, okay, let me just write a song right now,
it's not going to work.
Forced. Yeah, it'll be too regimented. It can be very forced. But if I say, well, I've got 6 or 7 little melodies that I made up when I was shopping and I was in the gym, let's look at them. Usually it's easy to explore and create a whole song from that.
Now, what I'm always interested in, and of course I'm new to music videos, even though they've been around for a long time, but
yeah.
I'm finally catching up with the rest of the world. How do you, and I'm pretty sure it's like this, how do you translate basically your lyrics with the music, because you're not just shaking your fanny to go along with the music.
No, that's right.
To me, it's modern dance, to put it bluntly. That's how I look at it. I was brought up with modern dance. And to me, the movements are more of a shading of your lyrics.
Very true. When I'm dancing, now I'm a trained dancer as well, but I'm inspired by just creating things off the cuff. And when I dance in my music videos, it is very much just a creation of what I feel in the music. And it's exactly like you said, modern dance. And I use elements of Bollywood. I use elements of African dance, Irish dance. I've studied all different sorts of dance. And how I feel is how I feel. And I just like to be very natural with it. And being an independent artist, I like to get things done quickly, so I don't have to hire a team full of dancers and choreographers. I say, I can jump in front of the camera and let me vibe, let me flow. I'm very hands-on, do-it-yourself type of girl, and I think that it's really fun. I think I'm moving towards more bigger productions and backup dancers and that whole thing, because I've never done that. So I think it's really fun to go, how's it going to be when I have fire on my set and flying trapeze, and that whole production value is only going to get higher and higher. But I think at the core of who I am, I'm a sit down with my guitar, sit down and just let me flow, let me do it very hands-on, very one-on-one. And I like that. I like to keep it raw and real. That's pretty much who I am.
I get that impression that when you were doing your dances of everything, it was not forced, but it was not mimicking other people's styles.
Yeah.
When you take a look, for example, yes, I'm familiar with Michael Jackson. I'm not totally out of it. When he did a lot of his moves, they were all very original, but they looked very much a part of it. It was not forced. It was not stuff that was just inserted and then just sort of spread out, so it would seem to mesh with the rest of what he was trying to portray. And I would think that when you're trying to sing and tell a story and have your body move to the beat or to the rhythm, that you want to be careful that you don't obscure your words or your movement.
That's right. Absolutely. It should all be in the same message. It should all go towards the same goal, the same narrative, the same message, the same point that you're trying to put across. That should be the whole point of what you're doing. And that's the visual should go with the song, should go with the movements, and it's so fun because you really are creating something incredible when you do that. I think it's just the most fun thing. I was born to do this. It's just a blast. And then you get to see, you birth a little baby. Your videos and your songs, and I've had several number ones, and I've had several, top Billboard songs now, and I just want to keep creating more. I'm in competition with myself. How can I be better? How can I give the fans even more great things and make them even happier? And that's the whole point, is you just want to create for your fans, and you feel like you've grown a family by having this communication with your fans. And
it makes it better. I have a lot of people who subscribe to my blog, and they write and they tell me, I've been back, this is what I'm seeing, Did you have a bad day?
Oh, they care.
All these things, and it really is kind of nice to know that they are paying attention enough.
Yeah.
That if you slack off a little bit or you have a misstep, they want to know whether or not, well, it must be difficult writing these articles 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe you would like somebody to help you to write them.
Right. That's so sweet.
So it really is a very good feeling. Now, one of the songs that I really liked was your song "Make America Great Again," and I'll tell you why. It wasn't a rehash of what Mr. Trump said, but it was something that I found really projected who you are, not just making America great, but to make the people of America, all the people, not just the rich and the famous and wealthy. But all the people. And if you cannot have all the people come together and make this nation great, then you're not going to have a great nation.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely the truth. We have to. That's why I wanted to feature all different types of people in my video. And really, that's what the song is about. It's a unity, and it's all of us do make America great, and let's join together. That's when we make America great again. When we say we're Americans, we're proud to be Americans, let's all join together to build this country across party lines, across racial divides. Because there's really, the media will say there's a divide, but I really don't see that. When I see my friends of all different colors and ethnicities and different people, I see a group of mixed faiths, mixed ethnic,
where they have no other place to be heard.
Yeah.
But I also like people to understand that it's everybody's responsibility to lift up this gauntlet that has been thrown down to us.
Yeah.
And to really own who we are. Don't say, well, I'm an American, but my DNA shows I'm 1/3 Scottish, 1/3 Eskimo, and 1/5 from Scandinavia. That's not being an American, folks.
Exactly, right? And listen, I think it's great to be proud of your ethnic background, but it's not about identity politics. That's not what makes you everything. And I always say that too. It's like, I mean, I am proud of my mix. I'm proud of my ethnic background. But what I'm most proud of is that I'm American and that I get to be here and enjoy the bountiful freedoms that we have.
Absolutely. And if you're ever in any doubt of how special this country is, I guarantee it, go overseas.
Uh-huh.
And you don't have to go to the third world countries. You don't even have to go to the Slavic or the Asian.
You can just go to Canada.
Just go to Canada.
They don't even have the freedom of speech.
No, and I'll tell you something else. You cannot demand your rights under the Constitution in Canada.
Man.
Canada is a sovereign country of Britain.
Right.
They still follow British laws. So
Crazy.
please remember that, folks. Canada is not part of the United States.
No, I don't think. And they get fined. You can be fined for hate speech, which sounds like a good thing until you go, well, what is hate speech? Exactly. Anything someone deems unnecessary. You could say, I don't like your shoes. Under Canada's rule, that could be hate speech. And then it's a he said, she said at that point, and you can get fined for saying that. And that's not freedom of speech, and that's when it gets really dangerous. And that's why I protect the Constitution. I would die for the Constitution. I mean, I almost joined the military. I have a big military background in my family. I believe that it gives us our freedom, our God-given right. Our founding fathers created this for us to be able to thrive. And once you start taking away the freedom of speech, all the Constitution, it becomes dangerous and becomes truly a domination of we don't want the people to speak. And then if you don't let me speak my name, speak my words, my truth, I can't be a singer, because that's what it's about, is singing my truth.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why the troubadours were respected and welcomed in feudal kingdoms, because they were the only way for anybody to get any type of news that was circulating around their so-called city-states.
That's right.
And without them, they wouldn't have known what was going on. So you need to understand that for everything that you have, you need to pay, well, yes, I hate to say it, drum roll please, the price, the sacrifice, because it does not come free. So that which you value most is that which you will fight to keep and preserve.
Right. That's right. Absolutely.
Well, I didn't want to sound, too.
No, we're getting into the good stuff here.
Oh, wait, people with me always get into the good stuff. I don't like staying along party lines. That's no fun.
Yeah, exactly. We want to dive into the truth, the
real
stuff.
The truth is when I was growing up, you weren't allowed to talk religion and politics. So in Family Matters, that's exactly always what you spoke about was politics and religion. Because it was the most interesting part of any conversation, and be quite honest, it was very stimulating.
Yeah.
And it made you really want to pay attention to what people were saying because there was no guarantee you would hear it outside of your family.
Right.
And I certainly don't, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to have to be able to pick and choose your words with care so you do not offend anybody.
Nope, exactly. Nope.
That's no fun.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Joy, please tell everyone where they can find you on the World Wide Web.
Yes.
The upcoming whatevers, anything else you have coming so they'll know you're coming.
Absolutely. So I have my new album coming out, and it's going to be really awesome. Then Make America Great Again is the single off that album. It'll be out by Christmas. You can go to joyvilla.com. That's joyvilla.com, Joyv as in victory, ILLA.com. And you can find me on Twitter at joy_villa, on Facebook at joyvilla, Instagram at joyvilla.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that is terrific. And also, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear this interview all over again, and I know you do, you can hear it over at https://passionateworldradionetwork.com. Click on host Lillian, and it'll take you directly to the page. You can also hear it on the 24/7 Cloud Radio. Just go over to the Listen and Play page and click on that, and you can hear it there. You can hear on Facebook.com/PWR Network LLC, Twitter.com/PWR Network, GooglePlus.com/PWR Network LLC. And before you go away and stray, Carlisle had this to say about opinion. Popular opinion is the greatest lie in the world.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, I always end programs with a quote because I just kind of feel like it's having a mint after dinner. It gets everything.
I love that. That's so true. That's so true.
So, ladies and gentlemen, children all ages, thank you all very much for listening. And remember, please keep listening.
Thank you, Lillian.